We sent our strongest against humanity. None ever returned. I am Vorkhan, elder of the Thessarian Council, and I have led our people for 300 cycles. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched 100 worlds bow to our fleets without a single shot fired. We were not cruel conquerors. We simply understood power, and power always finds a way to make lesser beings kneel. Then we found the humans. I want to tell you what happened, not because the council ordered me to, but because I need someone else to carry this weight with me. I have spent so many nights alone with it, that I fear I am losing my mind. It began simply enough. Our scouts found a small blue world at the edge of known space. Their signals were primitive. Their ships were slow. Our analysts laughed when they saw the reports. A species that still burned fuel to escape their own gravity well. A species that argued among itself in hundreds of languages and hundreds of governments. By every measure we had, humanity should have been beneath our notice. But something about them unsettled our scientists. They fought each other constantly, yet whenever an outside threat appeared, they became something else entirely. United, adaptive, impossible to predict. I did not believe the warnings. I sent our first champion. His name was Solon, and he stood 2 heads taller than any Thessarian in memory. He had crushed rebellions on a dozen worlds. His strength was legendary. His mind was sharp as a blade. I chose him because I believed no living thing could stand against him. We sent him with a small strike team to a human outpost on the edge of their territory, a place called Kepler Station. It was meant to be a simple test. Overwhelm the defenders, take a prisoner, return with proof that humans were as fragile as they looked. The last transmission we received from Draith was strange. He said the humans on the station were calm, too calm. They did not panic when his ship approached. They did not scramble their defenses in fear. Instead, they simply waited, watching his approach with something that looked almost like patience. Then the signal went dark. We sent a recovery drone weeks later. It found the outpost intact. No wreckage, no bodies. Draith and his team were simply gone, as if they had never existed. The humans who once lived there had moved on, their station left in perfect order, not a single sign of struggle anywhere. I told myself it was an anomaly. A single failure does not define a war. So we sent our second champion. Her name was Vesa Ironhold, and she was the finest strategist our military academies had ever produced. She had studied 1,000 battles. She could calculate the outcome of a conflict before the first shot was fired. I gave her 3 warships and told her to test humanity's resolve directly. She engaged a small human defense fleet near a neutral trading post. Her ships outnumbered them, outgunned them, and by every calculation, should have secured victory within minutes. But humans do not fight the way our models predicted. Where we expected retreat, they pressed forward. Where we expected panic, they organized. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting, kept adapting, kept finding new angles of attack that our simulations had never considered. Vesa's own flagship reported taking damage from tactics that made no logical sense, and yet somehow worked. Her final message to command was brief. She said humans did not fight like an enemy who wanted to win. They fought like family protecting family, and that kind of resolve could not be modeled with numbers. Then her fleet went silent. When our recovery team arrived, they found the wreckage of only 1 ship, badly damaged but empty. The other 2 ships, along with Vesa herself, were never found. It was as though the void had simply swallowed them whole. I could not explain it to the council. I could not explain it to myself. 2 of our greatest champions had vanished, and each time, humanity had done nothing that resembled destruction. There was no proof of what became of our people, only absence. By now, whispers had started among our command staff. Some said humans possessed weapons beyond our detection. Others said they had struck some secret pact with an unknown power. I refused to believe either. I needed proof, not fear. So I sent our 3rd champion. And this time, I chose differently. Instead of strength or strategy, I sent our finest infiltrator, a quiet operative named Thessal, skilled in stealth and patience. His mission was not to fight, but to observe. To live among humans if he could, and report back exactly what made them so difficult to defeat. Ren's reports at first were fascinating. He described human cities full of noise and color, full of disagreement and debate, yet somehow functioning together despite constant argument. He described children laughing in the streets, families gathering for meals, strangers helping strangers without any expectation of reward. It was chaotic. It was messy. It made no logical sense to our ordered society. Then his reports changed. He began describing something he called their spirit. He said humans carried an idea inside them, a belief that even when things seemed hopeless, they had to try anyway. He said this belief was passed from parent to child, from friend to friend, from stranger to stranger, until it became a force stronger than any weapon we possessed. His final report unsettled me more than any battle report ever had. He said he no longer wished to return. He said he had found something among the humans that our own civilization had lost long ago: purpose beyond conquest, warmth beyond hierarchy. He asked for permission to stay. I denied it. I ordered him to return immediately. He never did. We searched for him for months, using every resource available. We found no trace, no signal, no evidence of what had become of him. It was as if the humans themselves had welcomed him so completely that our own systems of tracking simply lost meaning. 3 of our finest, each excelling in different arts of war and observation, all gone without a single confirmed casualty on the human side. No wreckage large enough to prove a battle. No transmissions describing our champion's defeat. Only silence, and the quiet, creeping realization that perhaps we had misunderstood the nature of our enemy entirely. The council grew restless. Some demanded a full invasion, believing overwhelming force would surely succeed where subtlety and skill had failed. I argued against it. I had seen enough by then to understand that force was not the answer. Instead of another champion, I did something no Thessarian elder had done in centuries. I requested direct contact, not for conquest, not for observation, for understanding. I traveled myself, alone, to a small human research station near the edges of contested space. I brought no weapons, no strike teams, only myself and the growing weight of unanswered questions. The humans who greeted me were nothing like what our reports had prepared me for. They were calm, curious, and remarkably unafraid. One of them, an older woman with silver hair and steady eyes, stepped forward and greeted me as though I were simply another visitor, rather than the leader of an empire that had sent champions to defeat her species. I asked her directly what had happened to Draith, to Vessa, to Rin. I expected excuses, denials, perhaps even threats. Instead, she smiled gently and told me the truth. She said our champions had not been destroyed. They had been shown something. Humanity did not meet strength with greater strength, or strategy with greater strategy. They met every challenge with patience, with kindness, and with an open door. Draith had been captured, yes, but instead of being harmed, he had been treated with care despite his purpose. Vessa's crew had been rescued, not slaughtered, when their ships fell into human territory, and given the choice to return home or begin anew. Rin had simply asked to stay, and they had welcomed him without hesitation, because that is what humans do for those who seek belonging. I did not understand at first. Where was the trick? Where was the hidden cruelty behind such generosity? She explained further. Humanity had learned, through countless mistakes and countless wars among themselves, that true strength was not measured in what you could destroy, but in what you were willing to protect, and who you were willing to forgive. They no longer needed to prove superiority through violence. Their strength had become something quieter, steadier, and far harder to defeat. The simple refusal to become their enemy's cruelty, no matter the provocation. I asked her why they had not simply told us this from the beginning, instead of allowing our champions to vanish into mystery and fear. She said some lessons cannot be explained. They must be witnessed. Humanity had learned long ago that fear breeds more fear, and violence breeds more violence. But understanding, patience, and mercy could break cycles that had lasted for generations. They hoped that whoever came looking for their missing warriors would find not an enemy, but a mirror, showing them a better way to lead their own people. I returned to my council changed. I could not offer them tales of glorious battle or crushing defeat, because none had occurred. Instead, I offered them truth. Humanity was not weak because they chose kindness. They were the strongest civilization we had ever encountered, precisely because their strength did not rely on domination. Many in the council still do not understand. Some still whisper about invasion, believing our failure was due to poor tactics rather than a fundamental misunderstanding of true strength. But I know better now. I have seen it in the eyes of that woman who greeted me without fear. I have felt it in the silence where our champions once stood. A silence not of destruction, but of transformation. We sent our strongest against humanity, and none returned, not because they were destroyed, but because they were shown something greater than the empire that created them. They found in humanity a strength worth staying for, a purpose worth choosing over conquest, and a mercy that could not be defeated because it never needed to fight in the first place. I do not know what the future holds between our peoples. Perhaps one day we will stand as allies rather than distant strangers. Perhaps humanity's patience will one day teach us to lead differently, to build rather than dominate, to protect rather than conquer. For now, I simply carry the truth of what I witnessed, and I share it with anyone willing to listen. Our strongest were not defeated by weapons or tactics. They were undone by kindness and transformed by understanding. And perhaps that is a far greater victory than any battle could ever offer. I no longer send champions against humanity. Instead, I send questions, and hope that one day they will send us answers written not in conquest, but in friendship.